Okay, we're here with Council candidate Ericka Lesley, of course, the chair of the Rent Control Board. Ericka, thanks for being here. Do you want to start with introductory remarks?
My name is Ericka Lesley. I am a community activist, proud parent, uh, labor supporter, and I'm running for city council because I need to help my community. It's just a short version.
Okay, great. Well, I wanted to start by asking you something. So in the questionnaire, we asked every candidate who's running if they would pledge to serve their full term if elected, and everybody said yes, that they would. However, we also asked the same question 2 years ago to every candidate, including to you when you were running for rent control board, and you also said yes then. So I just wanted, obviously you're running for city council. If you win, you will have, effectively broken that pledge. So what made you decide, or how did you come to decide that it would be a better use of your time to not serve out the full term on the rent control board and to go to city council? And how can we be sure that you will stay for your full term on city council?
I understand. I absolutely understand. Um, I'm running at the behest of the community. I've had a lot of community members and staff ask me to run. The frustration of not trying to, but working within the confines of the rent control board to be fair, just to be fair and equitable. I don't want to lean one way to the other. Um, and to be quite frank, code enforcement. Code enforcement is not under our purview to further assist the community and the residents of Santa Monica, not to mention to help the staff as well.
Okay, so in city council, we can count you to serve the whole for full 4 years.
Yes.
Okay.
I gotta be of service.
Yeah, of course. Okay, great. And I wanted to also ask you about something that recently came up with regard to your vote on the Rent Control Board to support the Justice for Renters Act. And I know that it's now that you announced you were running, and so your campaign donation, or yeah, your income has started to come out in the public record, and we've seen that. I mean, of course, I know because I work on the Justice for Renters campaign as well, but that you've been working for the Justice for Renters Act for several months, including before the vote on the Rent Control Board was taken. So I believe that there was an issue there because you didn't disclose that you were working for the campaign or recuse yourself from that vote before the vote was taken. So do you want to clear any of that up? I mean, how are you dealing with that, and what's your rationale?
So there will be a revote on our next meeting to correct that. It was not something that was done in opposition or something that was done of ill intent. Some things saying it's like this is mine. We've had a lot of different things that have happened from our city council on down as far as that's concerned. And it's just a way that you have to, consult with our attorneys to make sure that you're clear at a different understanding.
Okay, so at the time of the vote, you weren't aware that you had to disclose that, basically?
You have to consult with your attorneys.
Okay, got it. Does anyone else want to ask the next question? Yeah, Keith.
Great. Hey there, Erica.
Hello.
How's it going? All right. So my question is related to your service and your leadership on downtown Santa Monica, and I appreciate your time there. Many believe that crime is the cause for the promenade and other areas of downtown Santa Monica to sort of, have, vacant retail spaces and lower numbers of retail patrons and et cetera, and others then are interested in increasing police presences there. Can you talk a little bit about, your time at DTSM, and perhaps another thought as it relates to, how some of downtown Santa Monica may be less patronized uh, than that kind of narrative?
Well, I would say this. We've had votes here recently to replace our ambassadors with private security. That's not something I was necessarily in support of. Our ambassadors have been doing that. They've been working very hard for our Third Street Promenade to keep it clean and safe, but that's not what they were hired for. They were hired just to get, to tell people where they're supposed to go and to clean the promenade, excuse me. They also, what we really wanted was more police influence on the downtown promenade. But because our police force is short staffed, they weren't able to provide the type of coverage that we needed. So that was the thought for hiring the private security to work in tandem with the police department. That would be the quick fix. However, it's not a sustainable solution. It costs $1.7 million to have them for 1 year. So now they have asked, the Downtown Santa Monica Board has asked for the city to cover those expenses. That was another reason why I was not in support of it.
Okay. Lynn?
Ericka, hi, first of all, hello. What steps or, the question about what steps or solutions would you propose to address the homelessness crisis? You said revamp the homelessness intake system according to current homelessness crisis. Could you elaborate on what you meant by that?
Well, a lot of resources out there. However, nobody makes sure they are means tested. Nobody is following up as far as to make sure that the people that have contacted these agencies are actually getting the help that they need. It's pretty rough out there. I know some of my neighbors are now unhoused as well. My former neighbors are now sleeping in vans and cars. And it's very heartbreaking to see. So I think that that's something that needs to be revamped, number one. Number two, just like they were saying, the hotel on Ocean Park, they're trying to close that down because of drug use. That hotel has also been used for homelessness, temporary housing. Not so much that it's the greatest place for it to be, but at the same time that, that drug use, drug use is not helpful for those that are unhoused as well. That's just a few of the things.
Okay, Mike?
Ericka, so in trying to address our affordable housing problems for lower income people, we've twice now passed measures GS, trying to have funds for rent subsidy for creating more affordable housing for our schools. Now the first GS is under attack now in that the city council has taken $36.5 million out of the housing trust fund for other purposes, and there's a risk they're planning to take more. And our second GS, after folks were unsuccessful in persuading the voters to reject it, after a legal challenge was unsuccessful, we now have Cypress Equity and Madison Capital funding an effort to try and put on the ballot something to exempt all multifamily housing, new and existing, so that, for example, Douglas Emmett could sell the shores and not have to make any contribution at all to our schools or our affordable housing programs. So I'd like to hear your views on both of those issues. And with the second one, since if it makes it to the ballot, it'll be an electoral issue, what would you actually do during the campaign to try and persuade Santa Monica's voters to your perspective on that issue?
Well, I supported GS the first time. I think it was brilliantly written. I would support it again. It doesn't make sense to take money away from our students. Desperately needed money at that for our school system and for our pod program. Um, Mike, you asked a really long question. I need to know. Please repeat the first part. I know where I stand with GS, but the first part, like, wait a minute, could you please repeat that?
Sure. So there are two other things. So one is on that part, what would you actually do during the fall campaign to get the voters to come to your point of view? And then the other was about the money that's been taken away from the Housing Trust Fund by the city council. What do you think about that, and what would you do about getting it repaid?
Well, first of all, they need to put that money back. Let's start out with that. That was something that they even pledged from the dais, that they would put that money back as money is being refurbished into the city. So I would advocate for them to put that money back as quickly as possible. Also with GS, as far as the campaigning, I would campaign along with my own campaign for Measure GS to stay intact as it was written.
Okay, Isabel?
Okay, hi Leslie. I mean Erica. So yeah, as we all know, housing is really becoming increasingly unaffordable for most people in Santa Monica, except those of us who are already here and protected either with rent control or because we own our homes. And I imagine you have a special perspective on this, having been on the rent board. So I would ask the question to you a little differently. You know, I was asking some of the other candidates just what would you do for more affordable housing, but maybe elaborate also what could you do on the council that you couldn't do on the rent board to create more affordable housing in Santa Monica?
So as it is written right now, the housing that is being developed is only at 15%. I would vote for it to be moved up to 30% because we will have way more market rate housing than we will have affordable. Our rent prices up even further. Unfortunately, if you think it's expensive now, wait until they get finished. We have one project in downtown Santa Monica, if I'm not mistaken, it was 452 apartment units. And out of those 452, I think it was 160 of them, and don't quote me on this, were affordable, with only 170 parking spaces. So disproportionately, it's out of whack. Because the deal's already been signed, it's been set and stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else on deck? Okay, I have another one, Erica. So looking at your responses with regard to mobility in the city, I just wanted to get a little bit more understanding of your philosophy there. So how do you think that we can change the way that our streets work, our neighborhoods work to encourage different types of transportation, bike riders, pedestrians, people taking the bus, scooters, how do we work towards a community that has all those different types of transportation methods going on at the same time? Or should we? Some of the incumbents would say we should have more, focus on the people who need cars. So how do we encompass all of that?
Well, for our senior population, they need cars because how do you transport your groceries? Especially when you have mobility issues. Our younger population, our student population, like to ride the e-bikes and the e-scooters. They have a good time with them. But we have to have a little bit more accountability on these e-scooters and e-bikes. I've seen the e-bikes and e-scooters thrown to the side. In front of my house right now, it's an e-scooter that somebody has kind of left I think they have to have better location tracking devices on them. I've even seen them in downtown Santa Monica being utilized to evade paying parking there. So I think that their GPS location services should be a little stronger. We also should have more user accountability.
Hmm.
Okay,
My apologies. And I also think that our buses need to run a little bit later to increase our ridership, because people are usually stranded that are riding the bus. I know we have a couple of constituents that are left without a ride home if they don't leave by a certain time, who want to be engaged in civic activity. So I wanted to also state that as well.
okay, Luis.
Hey, Erica, I just had a quick question for you. You mentioned, having community support and that being sort of the catalyst for starting this campaign. And then also in your questionnaire, right, that homelessness is a big issue and your number one priority listed. So I'm curious, what getting that getting that authority or having that bully pulpit at the council level, what opportunities does that open, and how would you start to tackle sort of homelessness issues, things that you weren't necessarily able to do through the rent control board?
So I know that there's also other funds for homelessness outreach, to expand our outreach team in the way that they encounter the homelessness um, crisis that we're having. Because we've always talked about the tsunami of evictions. We're here now, and the people are out on the street. Um, and there's not enough people to help. There's not enough people to help. And that would be one of the things that I would try to do first off, is access those dollars from the federal government so that we can expand our outreach team. And also the way that they come at it, because there's people sleeping in the cars. I can look down the block right now and see a couple of cars right now that are people are in those cars. So the way they approach them is quite different than what you would do as far as somebody that's already laying out on the sidewalk.
Okay, Sam.
So how do you see the current situation with parks in Santa Monica, and how would you fight for more equality when it comes to green and shaded spaces?
Well, we have green and shady spaces and a little bit of everywhere in Santa Monica. We live in a beautiful city. Um, Take, for example, the business park on Ocean Park. I'm sorry, not Ocean Park, on Olympic and Cloverfield. You could walk through there. We have shaded spaces there. Um, and that's the reason why, I mean, if you look around our city and take a walk, um, a safe walk, you'll see that we have green and shady spaces throughout, little caveats everywhere. I know that we need a community garden in the Pico neighborhood. I'm advocating for that, as I've been for many years, especially with the closure of the 99-cent store. We need that for our senior population and those of extremely low income. Um, I do understand that some people would like to see more parks, but we also need to see more housing as well.
On that point, how do you come down on the airport conversion to a park? I mean, do you think that that's a space where housing could be built?
I think we could use a mixed use at the airport, um, not just a park, because that's a vast amount of land that we could utilize. I know that's the first place everybody wants to go to, but we have businesses there as well. We have classes from SMC. I see a vision of us having some affordable housing there, but also some businesses where people can walk to a restaurant. There's a lot of opportunity there, but we could still have room for green spaces, along with shade. It could be beautiful if everybody could just see the vision of what is possible there in that space.
Okay, great. Any other questions from any? Oh, here we go. Isabel.
Yeah, hi Ericka again. So you've been on the downtown Santa Monica, that group. So similar question to mine about the rep board. You've been on there, and I'm sure you've been able to accomplish some things and been frustrated with some things. What are things that, from that perspective, that you've seen that you want to do in Santa Monica that you might be able to accomplish on the city council?
Expand arts in the city of Santa Monica. We have a lot of tech companies here. I know that they have a lot of our rents are kind of based on those tech companies, but they recently laid off 1,900 people within the last few months, which affects our economy, to say the very least, and also our community within the school as well, because some of those people are parents, and they're trying to recover from the layoff. But what I would like to see is like a virtual reality scavenger hunt, interactive with ballet and art throughout our city, and to learn different things about our city and how beautiful it is, incorporating all different parts of the city.
Okay. Just checking to see if anyone else has any last questions. All right. Anything else we missed that you want to cover before we wrap up?
Well, so I don't know if I should say it here or maybe I should say it offline. Just something to consider. When we have our questionnaires for our candidates, some folks, and I try to think about everybody. Some people they need ADA compliance. Some folks might not have a computer. My laptop is actually acting up right about now. It sent out something in code one time I tried to fill out the questionnaire for Santa Monica Democratic Club. So I try to finish the questionnaire on my phone, which is very probably to say the least, to try to fill that whole thing out on a phone that's rather small. Some people don't have access just to take into consideration, or much less that they can't see. Just things to put in perspective.
Those are very good points. Definitely something that we'll consider. Hopefully between that, at least in this cycle, at least between the questionnaire and this interview process and our debate, we'll have the opportunity for everyone to be heard in their preferred format. But I appreciate you being here, and good luck with the campaign, and we'll see you next week for the debate.
Have a great day, everybody.
Hey,
Thanks. See you later.